Sometimes what we think is the end is only the beginning of something greater than we ever imagined. The cold January wind swept across the snow-covered fields of Ashwood, Ohio, whispering through bare tree branches like a ghost remembering the living. Under the slate-gray sky, a small wooden casket rested on an iron platform draped in white lilies. People stood in silence, their breath visible in the bitter air, their grief too heavy to speak. Among them, Rachel and Mark Delaney, once the picture of a joyful American family, clutched each other in silent despair. They had come to bury their daughter, Lily, 8 years old, curious, gifted, and gone far too soon. But just as the pastor bowed his head and began to pray, something happened that would leave every witness questioning reality for the rest of their lives. A shape moved through the trees. A German shepherd, massive and regal, emerged from the forest edge. No one moved. The sound of its paws crunching the snow was the only thing that broke the silence. The dog's fur shimmered between black and gold, snowflakes catching in its thick coat. Rachel's breath caught in her throat. "No," she whispered. "It can't be." Mark turned, wide-eyed, as the dog approached the casket. His hands trembled. "Jake," he muttered. Jake had been their family dog, a protector in every sense. He died just 3 months earlier, shielding Lily from a rattlesnake that had slithered into their backyard. His passing had shattered their daughter, until her own mysterious illness began to rob her of energy, joy, and eventually, life itself. Now, here he was again. The dog left no tracks. Its breath did not miss the air. It walked with a calm, sacred purpose, and when it reached the casket, it sat, raised its head, and let out a soft, keening whine. Then the impossible happened. The dog opened its mouth, and Lily's voice came out. "Mommy, Daddy, I am scared. Please don't let them put me in the dark. I don't belong there." The crowd gasped. The pastor dropped his Bible. A woman fainted. Somewhere in the back, a phone slipped from trembling fingers into the snow. Rachel fell to her knees, sobbing. Lily? Baby. The dog, Jake, or what looked like Jake, lowered his head. Tail still, eyes locked on hers. "I miss you," the voice said, "but it's not my time yet." And then, just as quietly as he had arrived, the dog turned and vanished into the woods. Welcome to the HeartForce channel, where you and I find more meaning in life through dog stories. Before we continue, please comment below and let us know where you're listening to this video. And if you have any dog stories of your own, feel free to share them with everyone. 3 days later, Rachel awoke to a sound she hadn't heard in weeks. Music. A child's hand playing Claire de Lune on the old upright piano in the living room. She rushed downstairs, nearly slipping on the wood floors, heart pounding in her chest. There on the bench sat Lily, alive, whole, playing. When she turned around and smiled, her hazel eyes glowed with recognition and quiet understanding. "I saw Jake," she said. "He didn't let me leave." They called the doctor, then the pastor, then the sheriff. No one could explain it. No one could believe it. But there Lily was, breathing, laughing, living. And as days passed, it became clear that Lily hadn't returned alone. She was different now, gentler, wiser, and occasionally distant. She'd say things she couldn't know. She'd speak of people who had passed on. She talked to empty spaces as if someone were sitting in them. She'd pause in the middle of playtime and say, "He wants you to know it wasn't your fault," or "She forgives you." Sometimes, she would say, "Jake told me." Mark tried to dismiss it. Rachel didn't even try. They knew better. They'd seen the impossible. In Ashwood, the story spread like wildfire. Neighbors began dropping by with questions. The local newspaper asked for an interview, which the family declined. A few strangers drove in from other towns, hoping Lily could help them connect with someone they had lost. The Delaneys didn't know what to say. Lily herself didn't fully understand what was happening to her. She only knew that, since her return, she could feel the sadness of people she'd never met, and sometimes hear the voices of those long gone. But always came with a cost. After every moment of connection, every message she shared, She'd grow cold and exhausted, sometimes needing to sleep for hours. And always, just before drifting off, she'd whisper, "Jake's watching over me." One stormy evening, Rachel found Lily crying quietly under the dining table. "What's wrong, sweetie?" Lily looked up, trembling. "There's too many voices tonight. They all want me to help. Jake's barking at them, trying to make them leave. But so loud, Mommy." Rachel pulled her into her arms. "You don't have to help everyone, baby. We'll figure this out. I promise." She believed it. She had to. But deep inside, she also knew this was just the beginning. In the heart of Ashwood, life carried on. But in the Delaney home, time had split in two. There was before, and there was after. Before Lily's funeral. After Jake returned. Before her rebirth. After the voices began. For all the laughter that returned to the house. There was a new kind of silence that lingered between moments. A silence thick with the feeling that something was always listening. At school, Lily struggled to blend back in her old life. Kids welcomed her with cautious kindness, like someone who'd been too close to something cosmic. Her teacher, Mrs. Kellerman, kept stealing glances at her, like she was watching a ghost sip from a juice box. During recess one day, Lily sat by the edge of the swings, staring up at a patch of blue sky between the clouds. She wasn't playing. She wasn't talking. She was waiting. Mrs. Kellerman approached, crouched beside her. "Everything okay, Lily?" Lily blinked. "Your mom says she likes the way you keep her locket in the drawer. She says she hears you whisper good night when you close it." The teacher's mouth fell open. Her mother had died 6 years ago. That locket had never left the top drawer in her desk. She whispered, "How could you know that?" Lily only smiled softly. "I didn't. She told me." The next day, Mrs. Kellerman didn't come to school. Some said it was the flu. Others whispered it was grief, resurfacing. That moment became the first ripple. Rachel began to notice the cost of Lily's encounters. After each strange message or visit, her daughter would grow pale and distant. It wasn't just fatigue. It was like her soul dimmed, pulled too far away from the world. "I'm fine," Lily would always say. But one night, Rachel crept in her room and found her curled in Jake's old dog bed, arms wrapped around a worn plush toy. She was whispering, "They're so sad, Jake. All of them. They just want to be seen, heard, loved." She was talking to empty air again. Except Rachel swore. For a moment, she saw a faint shimmer in the shape of a dog curled beside her daughter. A flickering golden black shadow. Watching, guarding. They reached out to Dr. Samuel Granger, a grief counselor in nearby Fayetteville, hoping for answers. The man had seen everything, or so he claimed. After 1 hour in the Delaney house, he left pale and shaken. "She's not hallucinating," he said quietly, standing on the porch with Rachel and Mark. "There's something, I don't know what, but she's a conduit. She's carrying something from the other side." Rachel gripped the railing. "Can she survive this?" He hesitated. "That depends. Right now, she doesn't know how to protect herself. She's trying to help everyone. That's too much for anyone, especially a child." Mark said nothing, his fists clenched at his sides. Soon after, Lily began to draw. Not the cartoons and animals she used to love. Now it was faces, hundreds of them, eyes crying, hands reaching, shadows behind doors, and always in the corner, the shape of a dog watching them all. "Who are they?" Mark asked one evening. Lily stared down at her newest drawing. "They're the forgotten ones," she said. "Jake says they need to be remembered. They can't rest." Mark and Rachel exchanged a glance. That night, they removed the mirrors from her room. She kept staring into them for too long, like she saw something they didn't. 3 weeks after the funeral, on a rainy afternoon, Lily collapsed at school. She was rushed to Ashwood General. Her heart rate was slow, her body cold, her lips murmuring names no one recognized. She lay between worlds again. Rachel sat beside her daughter's hospital bed, holding her hand, tears falling in silence. "Please," she whispered, "you've already come back to me once. Don't leave me again." And then, like a breath in the storm, Lily stirred. She opened her eyes and whispered, "Jake says, I'm giving too much." Rachel blinked. "Giving what?" "My light," Lily said, as if that explained everything. "Every time I help someone, it costs light." That evening, Mark went out to the shed. He opened the old cedar chest where Jake's things had been kept. The leash, the collar, the ID tag. He held the collar in his hands, turning it over. The metal tag read, Jake, Guardian, forever. And suddenly it clicked. Jake hadn't just protected Lily in life. He was still protecting her. But for how long? The next morning, Lily woke stronger, but quieter. She looked out the window at the woods behind the house. I think Jake's getting tired, she said softly. Rachel knelt beside her. Is there anything we can do? Lily shook her head. He says, I need to learn to do it myself. He can't carry all of it anymore. The Delaneys realized then, if they didn't find help soon, their miracle could become a curse. And that curse could cost them their daughter. The woods outside Ashwood had always carried a hush to them, like the trees had secrets they weren't ready to share. Long before anyone knew the Delaneys, the townsfolk whispered of a woman who lived deep within the forest. Some called her a healer, others a witch. Most simply avoided the pines and pretended she wasn't real. But Rachel had no more use for pretending. She found her by instinct or desperation. It took over 2 hours of navigating old game trails and forgotten logging paths, but finally she saw the cabin. Cedar walls covered in moss, a curl of smoke rising from the chimney, and wind chimes made of bones and feathers dancing in the breeze. An old woman with long silver hair stood on the porch, as if she'd been expecting her. You brought her back from the edge, she said without greeting. But you don't know how to keep her here. Rachel froze. Come in, the woman said. Her name was May Thorne, and her eyes were the color of worn driftwood, soft but heavy with everything they'd seen. Your daughter carries a thread between 2 worlds, May said, pouring tea that smelled of lavender and earth. That kind of connection is rare and dangerous. Rachel clutched the warm mug. What is happening to her? May leaned back in her creaking chair. A spirit can cross the veil once by love's command, but if it stays too long, it becomes a tether. It binds the living, and if the living don't learn to carry the weight alone. She didn't finish. She didn't have to. Rachel knew. Back in Ashwood, Lily was drawing again. This time, she sketched a winding path through pine trees. At the center, a cabin with smoke trailing from the chimney. In the foreground, a small girl standing beside a German shepherd. She'll help me, Lily said when Rachel returned home. Jake told me. They returned to the cabin together the next evening. May greeted Lily not with surprise, but recognition. You're the child between breaths, she said gently. Cool, May. Let's teach you how to breathe again. May's lessons were nothing like what school taught. She taught Lily to close her eyes and imagine a door in her mind, solid, old, heavy with age. You decide when it opens, May instructed. You decide who enters. Lily nodded. But what if they're sad? What if they need help? May placed her hand gently on Lily's shoulder. Then help them, but never let them take your light without asking. Even the dead must have manners. The first time Lily pushed a spirit's voice out, she cried. I didn't want to be mean, she said. You weren't. May said. You were choosing to live. Meanwhile, the town was unraveling. Word had spread of Lily's strange abilities. Voices, messages, miraculous survival. Some came seeking healing. Others came to judge. At the church, Pastor Rickman preached about the dangers of unnatural gifts. The dead must not linger among the living, he warned. When the veil, tears, darkness can pour through. At the grocery store, people whispered as Rachel passed. That's the one whose kid talks to ghosts. In line at the pharmacy, a woman behind Mark murmured, should have let the girl rest in peace. Mark turned, jaw tight. You don't know what peace means. And yet, even amid judgment, miracles persisted. Lily stopped a teenager from taking his own life after whispering something only his late sister could have known. She helped a grieving father find closure after 5 years of silence by delivering one simple message. It wasn't your fault. Each time she helped, she grew dimmer, but stronger too. May called it balancing the bridge. One night, Rachel asked May, how do I protect her from people who are afraid of her? May stared into the fire. You don't, she said. You teach her to protect herself. People fear what they don't understand. That's never changed. But your daughter is learning to carry light. And light when it grows strong enough. Makes shadows retreat. The final test came suddenly. One evening, Lily sat bolt upright in bed. Her nose bled. Her hands shook. Her eyes glazed with something other. "They're coming," she whispered. Mark rushed to her. "Who's coming?" "The forgotten ones," she said. "They're angry. They wanted to open the door." May arrived within the hour, winded but composed. "The town is built on something buried," she said. "Something left to rot. It's calling now, and it's using Lily as the key." Rachel stared, horrified. "What do we do?" May touched Lily's forehead. She must choose. Stay in the light, or let them pull her back into the dark. Lily opened her eyes, voice trembling. "Jake says, I can't help them all." May nodded solemnly. "No, but you can choose which ones are worth saving." And just like that, the door between the worlds began to open. The wind howled through Ashwood like something ancient had stirred beneath the earth. On the eve of the winter solstice, the town slept restlessly. But inside the Delaney home, sleep was impossible. The temperature had dropped. Lights flickered. In the distance, dogs barked and wouldn't stop. Lily sat on her bed, clutching Jake's old collar in one hand and the small stone May had given her in the other. Her eyes were wide, but she wasn't afraid. She was listening. "They're so loud tonight," she said softly. "I think they want to be seen, not just heard." Rachel knelt beside her. "You don't have to open the door, baby." Lily looked up. "If I don't, they'll find another way. They're desperate." May had warned them that this might happen. On the darkest night of the year, the barrier between life and death thins, and some things come through that don't belong in either place. Rachel reached for her daughter's hand. "I'm not letting you go again," she said. Lily squeezed it back. "Then help me stay." The living room became a battleground of light and shadow. May drew a circle of salt and herbs around Lily. Candles flickered. Jake's collar rested in the center, along with the river stone and a faded photo of Lily at age 5, with Jake curled beside her on the porch. "They're coming," May whispered. "Hold her tight." Mark placed both hands on Lily's shoulders as she sat cross-legged in the center of the circle. And then it began. The room dimmed. The temperature dropped 10 degrees in an instant. And the voices came. Thousands of them. Screaming, crying, whispering secrets and regrets and rage that had simmered for a century. Rachel heard names she didn't recognize. Places that no longer existed. Accusations of betrayal, loss, injustice. Lily's eyes rolled back, and a single tear slid down her cheek. "Jake," she whispered, "help me." From the far side of the room, where shadows clung like fog, a soft golden glow began to form. A shape, strong, familiar. Jake, his spirit, no longer faint, no longer flickering, stood tall and solid, eyes glowing, tail stiff, his body shielding Lily from the waves of angry energy pressing against the circle. May raised her hands and began to chant in a language older than anything the town of Ashwood had ever known. One voice cut through them all. A man's voice, hollow and deep, full of pain. "You built your town over our bones," it roared. "You erased our names. You stole our peace." May's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" "I am Samuel Griggs," the voice bellowed. "And we are the Ashwood Fire." Mark froze. Samuel Griggs. He knew that name. Ashwood had been founded after a massive lumber fire in the 1800s. The official story was a tragic accident, 10 men dead, including the mill owner, Samuel Griggs. But rumors had always swirled that it had been arson, an insurance scam, that Griggs had locked his workers in to cover his debts. Now, the truth was screaming to be heard. "We were never buried," the voice raged. "We were burned, buried in ash, forgotten." Lily gasped. "They want justice. Or vengeance." May's face was grave. "And if you open the door, they'll take your body to do it." The candles blew out. Darkness flooded the room. And then Lily began to rise off the ground. Not by choice. Something was pulling her upward. Her arms dangled. Her head tilted back. Her voice, her sweet child's voice, came out as a chorus of others. "Let us in. Let us through. Let us live again." Rachel screamed. Mark lunged forward, but May blocked him with an arm. "She has to choose," the old woman said. Inside the storm of voices, Lily's true voice whispered, "Jake, show me how." The shepherd barked once, loud, sharp, commanding. The glow around him expanded like a shockwave, pushing back the dark. For a moment, the room was filled with gold and warmth and memory. And in that space, Lily saw it all. The men who died in the fire, the betrayal, the secrets buried beneath the school, beneath the town square, beneath the bookstore where she used to sit reading with her mom. She saw their pain, but she also saw their eyes. Not angry, just lost. "Then let me tell your story," she whispered. "I'll remember you. I'll help the others remember, too. But you can't take me to do it." The shadows pulsed once, then again, then retreated. With a final surge of wind that knocked books off shelves and shattered a lamp, the presence evaporated. Lily dropped back into May's arms, trembling but conscious. Jake was still there, glowing, watching. The next morning, the Delaneys walked into Ashwood's town hall and asked for access to the old historical records. Mark showed them the name, Samuel Griggs. Within weeks, the truth came out. The fire hadn't been an accident. Griggs had locked the doors. Dozens had died, their families never told. No memorial ever built. The town responded with quiet horror, and then resolve. A stone monument was placed outside the rebuilt mill. Lily helped design it. At the unveiling, she whispered, "Now they can rest." And she smiled because Jake was still watching, still guarding. Spring came early that year to Ashwood, Ohio. The snow melted with quiet gratitude, and daffodils bloomed where frost had ruled just weeks before. But inside the Delaney home, the seasons were changing in a different way. Lily was stronger. She laughed more, slept better. The darkness that had clung to her like a second skin had faded. But so had Jake. His spirit appeared less often now, quieter, softer, just the brush of warmth in the hallway, the faint sound of nails on the wood floor that never quite echoed. One morning, Lily found Rachel sitting on the back porch, watching the trees. "He's almost gone, isn't he?" Lily asked. Rachel didn't answer. Her throat was tight, her eyes full. "He's tired," Lily said gently. "He stayed longer than he was supposed to. Because of me." Rachel reached for her hand. "He stayed because he loved you." "I know." They sat in silence until Lily said something Rachel wasn't ready for. "I think I need to say goodbye." They waited for a warm Sunday afternoon. Rachel, Mark, Lily, and May walked out to the old oak tree behind their home, the same tree where Jake had first been buried. The spot was marked with a smooth river stone, carved with his name and the words, "Guardian, forever." Lily knelt beside the grave, holding Jake's collar in her lap. The wind was still. Then he came, just like the first time. His form shimmered in the sunlight, larger than life. Proud and strong, tail wagging once, eyes shining like stars that refused to die. "Hey, buddy," Lily whispered, tears tracing her cheeks. "I'm okay now. Really." She held out the collar. Jake stepped forward, leaned in, and nudged her chest softly, as if saying, "Keep it." Then he turned to Mark and Rachel. He looked at May, and then back to Lily. She wrapped her arms around what she could touch of him. Warmth, light, memory. And said the words she had been afraid to say since that terrible October afternoon when he had died to save her. "Goodbye." Jake barked once, a sound of joy, and then, slowly, like sunlight fading behind a mountain, he disappeared. Lily cried for a long time. Rachel held her. Mark stood behind them, one hand on the tree, head bowed. May smiled quietly. "You didn't lose him," she said. "You set him free." Months passed. Lily never lost her gift, but she learned to live with it. She used it rarely, carefully, only when the voice was kind, the need was true, and the toll was worth it. She kept Jake's collar by her bed. Every night, she'd touch it and whisper, "Thank you." Rachel and Mark found their rhythm again. Not the same as before, but something new, stronger, more honest. And Ashwood changed too. The monument to the forgotten workers became a place of community, where stories were shared, not buried, where grief was no longer feared, but honored. One evening, Lily played the piano again in the same church where her funeral had once been held. The piece was her own composition. She called it "The Dog Who Stayed." When she finished, the audience stood, not because of the music, but because they had seen a child walk through darkness and carry the light back with her. A girl who lived because love refused to die. A girl who healed because a dog had waited long enough for her to be strong on her own. That night, as the sun dipped behind Ashwood's gentle hills, Lily sat under the oak tree and wrote in her journal. He was more than a dog. He was a promise. That love never ends. That we are never truly alone. That sometimes the ones who leave stay long enough to lead us home. She closed the book and smiled. The story of Lily and Jake reminds us that sometimes love is more powerful than death. That the bonds we form with our children, with our pets, with our memories, can become bridges between worlds, between pain and healing. Jake didn't just protect Lily's body. He guarded her heart. And in doing so, he gave her the strength to carry others. We all face losses. We all carry grief. But if we're lucky, we carry love too. The kind that lingers. The kind that lights the way back. And when it's time, the kind that lets go so we can move forward. What did this story mean to you? Have you ever felt the presence of a pet or a loved one after they were gone? Share your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to HeartForce, where every story reminds us what love is truly capable of.